Imagine this. For years, you secretly funded your family's luxury life. $230,000 poured into their dreams, while they praised your sibling as the visionary and called you boring. Then one dinner shatters everything. What happens when the invisible supporter finally snaps and pulls the plug? This isn't just betrayal. It's a raw, heart-wrenching journey to freedom. If these words touch the quiet ache you've carried too long, please subscribe. It means we're not alone in healing and rising. Stick around to see how I rose from the rubble, building something unbreakable. You won't believe the twist that changes everything. Hello, I'm Brooke Anders. I didn't wait for the elevator. I took the stairs, my heels clicking a sharp staccato rhythm against the concrete, echoing like determined footsteps in the empty stairwell. By the time I pushed open the heavy lobby doors and stepped out onto the street, the Chicago wind hit me like a physical wall of ice from Lake Michigan, stripping the breath from my lungs. Good. I needed the cold to sharpen my resolve, to quiet the part of me that wanted to turn back, apologize, and smooth things over like I always did. But tonight, I wasn't smoothing anything. I stood on the corner of Michigan Avenue, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and steel. People rushed past, heads bowed against the wind, but I felt strangely still. For 29 years, I'd been the steady one, the safety net, the quiet pillar holding everything together, so my sister Sophia could shine brightly above it all. But even pillars have limits. And tonight, under the glare of a street lamp, I'd finally reached mine. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I expected hesitation, tears, and the heavy weight of upending everything I'd known. Instead, my fingers moved with clear purpose. Face ID unlocked the screen, and I tapped the banking app. The blue logo pulsed before revealing my balance. Healthy, stable, just like me. Or at least like I'd always strived to be. I scrolled to the recurring transfers. There it was. Mom and Dad condo, $4,800, scheduled for the first of every month. I stared at the number. That wasn't just rent. It was my own dreams deferred, the foundation for the architecture firm I'd longed to build, and the quiet price I'd paid for their comfort. I tapped edit. The app asked if I wanted to modify the amount. I didn't. I wanted to release it. I hit delete. A confirmation popped up. Are you sure? I'd never been more certain. I tapped yes. The line vanished. Just like that, the support holding up their world shifted away, but I wasn't finished. I opened my email app and found the contact for the property management firm, because that was the thing my parents never fully understood about leases. They require a legal signatory, and that signature was mine alone. I drafted the email. Subject: Notice of lease termination for Unit 40B. Calmly, without anger. I, Brooke Anders, the sole leaseholder, am giving the required 60-day notice to vacate. I typed the date. 60 days. That was 8 weeks for Sophia to discover new paths, and 8 weeks for my parents to see that luxury doesn't sustain itself. I hit send. The phone felt lighter in my hand. I looked up at the high-rise I'd just left. Somewhere on the 40th floor, they were probably still sipping wine, brushing off my words, and convincing themselves I'd come around soon enough. They had no idea the foundation had changed. The shift had begun. I turned my collar up against the wind and walked. I wasn't going home to dwell. I was going home to rest deeply for the first time in 4 years, finally unburdened. The key to my apartment slid into the lock with a quiet, solitary click. I pushed open the door to my 700-square-foot studio, a converted loft in a vibrant, real part of town. My mother, Patricia, called it industrial chic when she was being kind, and something less flattering after a drink or two. My bed hid behind a bookshelf, and my dining area was a counter with 2 stools. It was modest, peaceful, and cost 1/3 of what I'd covered for their view. I sat on a stool and opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the dark, illuminating a spreadsheet hidden in a folder named Tax Documents. It wasn't taxes. It was a record of my quiet sacrifices. It started 4 years ago when my parents sold the suburban house to move closer to the city lights. They dreamed of galleries, walks along the river, and being near Sophia's creative world. But soon after, my father, Richard, pulled me aside. Just a temporary hiccup, he said. A little help with the rent, for a month or 2. I remembered his eyes, worried, hopeful. I helped. 1 month stretched into many. The temporary became ongoing, a silent agreement where I'd carry the load while they lived the life. I scrolled to the bottom. The total stared back in bold, $234,000. The air grew heavy. That wasn't just money. It was possibilities paused, a future on hold, and the heart of the firm I'd imagined since my early 20s. I'd poured it into their story, supporting a chapter I wasn't fully part of. Why? It was complicated, woven deep. In architecture, there's something called progressive collapse. One key support gives way, the load shifts unevenly, and everything risks falling. I'd told myself I was that vital support, keeping my family steady. If I stepped back, their comfort, their joy, and their sense of self might crumble. From childhood, I'd learned my role, steady and strong, not the one in the spotlight. Sophia was the shining exterior, vibrant and visible. I was the hidden strength, reliable, enduring, unseen, but holding it all up. I'd carried that role like a quiet honor, believing my efforts kept us connected. But that night, with the cursor blinking, I saw clearly. I wasn't preserving a family. I was sustaining an imbalance. I wasn't their foundation. I was holding back my own growth. The only real risk in letting go, facing the truth together. I saved the file and left it open as a reminder of what silence had cost. Then I opened a new tab, the state's business registration portal. With $4,800 freed each month, it was time to build something truly my own. The sun hadn't fully risen before the messages began. My phone buzzed insistently on the nightstand, pulling at my peace. I made coffee first, watching the steam curl upward, centering myself in my own space before facing theirs. When I checked, I had missed calls, texts, and voice notes from Sophia. I played one, her voice strained, emotional. "Brooke, why did you have to bring up money and ruin everything? It felt like you couldn't let Dad be happy for me even for a moment." I didn't feel rage, just a quiet clarity, like observing from a distance. Text from Patricia, urgent, worried. "The rent payment didn't go through. The landlord reached out. This is so stressful. Please sort the banking mix-up right away." A mix-up? She couldn't yet see it as a choice. In her world, things like this just worked, because I made them work. Stopping felt impossible, like breaking a natural law. I sipped my strong, grounding coffee, and reflected in the window's dark glass. For years, I'd puzzled over how they could accept my help, yet overlook me. But in those buzzing notifications, it clicked. It wasn't oversight. It was a way to protect their story. They'd built so much around Sophia as the one lifting us all. Acknowledging my role would mean seeing the full picture, her dreams needing support, their choices leading here. It was easier to focus on the moment than rewrite the narrative. I didn't reply, explain, or justify. I opened a new document. No longer just a daughter in this moment. A leaseholder following the rules. Header, notice to quit. Formal, clear, and citing the lease terms, state guidelines, and timelines. No lingering hurts from dinner, just the facts, like refining a design. I printed it, enveloped it, and addressed it to Richard. He'd expect reconciliation, perhaps. Instead, clarity. I mailed it, knowing it would land heavily. 3 days later, Richard walked into my office, holding a manila envelope like a fragile hope. He placed it on my desk. "We found the condo deed. It must be some misunderstanding." I opened it. A quick look. "Dad, this isn't the deed. It's just an image." The details blurred, unclear. He seemed lost. Years of letting others handle the fine print had left gaps. I turned my monitor. "Here's the record. The $500,000 from the house sale didn't go to the condo. It went to S-Style LLC, Sophia's fashion venture." His expression softened into quiet realization. The savings meant for security had fueled a dream that didn't last, and I'd quietly covered the rent all these years so the full story stayed hidden. 60 days later, final walkthrough. Emotions ran high. Tears from Sophia, pleas from Patricia, and Richard gazing out silently, processing. I left the master key on the counter. "Goodbye," I said softly, closing the door on the chapter I'd carried so long. 2 weeks later, I stood on a construction site, my first big project as Brooke Anders Architects. As concrete flowed into the new foundation, I felt it deeply. Clearing the old makes space for the new. True strength comes in building what honors you. The $4,800 once going to their rent now fueled my team, my tools, and my vision. Step by step, something authentic and enduring. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own quiet strength, the weight you've carried, or the freedom waiting on the other side, please hit that subscribe button.